Newfoundland Hobbyist is sponsored by paulsfinest.com, Mid-Island Motorsports located in Springdale, wildmedkits.ca, and Robinson's General Store located in Middle Arm. In the previous episode of the Newfoundland Hobbyist, I introduced you guys to a brand new workspace that I have been creating. That is a workshop that I desperately needed for my so many hobbies. We got straight to work insulating a bare bones shop, did some floor leveling, some sheeting, painting, and finally leading up to electrical, and today we're going to be moving on. Now that we have functioning electrical, we can start on the lighting, and I highly anticipated this part of the project. Video work requires good lighting, and it's something I've never had. In my last workshop, my only source of light was 2 soft boxes filled with light bulbs, and that just wasn't enough. So I'm going the extra mile to make sure I have tons of light in this workshop. What I chose were a very common or popular option online these days if you do any searching. They are linkable LED workshop lights. They're really cool, low power draw. They link up, like I said. And another bonus for me was that industrial look. Yeah, I think so. Go for it. And today's work I'm really excited for, and that is to pipe in a bit of an air system into the shop. And I've wanted this for a long time. I've only ever had a little tiny compressor with a little job site one you just carry around your hand, kind of for putting down baseboards. I've had that for several years, but it was always too inconvenient to use, didn't hold enough air. Just in this past probably 6 months or so, I bought this 15-gallon Mastercraft compressor, and it has actually been really, really good. I've really enjoyed having it. Super useful, but it's a bit of a klutz with all the holes on there like that, and it's just not a good setup. It is big enough for my uses. Some of you guys might think I should have a big, massive. My brother has a big, I don't know if it's 60 or 90-gallon compressor wired into 240 and stuff. It sits on the corners, this massive thing. I would love to have that, but it's not in the cards right now because you're looking at quite a bit of money to have something like that, and I don't need it. He has a big tire changer system and a wheel balancer and all that. He's a little more invested in his tooling than I am, and he needs a compressor like that. I don't. I would love to, like I said, but it's not in the right cards right now. In the cards right now for finances and stuff. So this is going to be great. But what I am going to do is pipe in an air system so I don't always have to come and take it from the compressor, because I really don't like running cables and hoses and cords back and forth to shop. You spend more time cooling your hoses back up when you could be actually doing work. So I'm hoping to get away from all that. I've been working on extension cords for the past 3 years, running all my tools. I want to get away from that. I want to get away from the hoses and stuff. I could have a single hose reel, but those hose reels are kind of pricey. They wear out, they break down, and you still have to be pulling hoses all around your shop and going and putting it back. What I want to do is have my compressor stationed in one location, and I want to run hoses to the four corners of my shop. Actual individual compressor hoses. Now, this compressor here has two standard outlets right on the compressor. So you might be wondering how I'm going to run four hoses. I'm going to show you something really, really cool here. How cool is that? It's a little compressor air manifold where you can have one air inlet in and four out. This is really cool, and it was cheap, and we're going to install it. I can't wait to get this air system installed. It's just going to be so slick. It's the little things that I'm taking time to do now that I've never had the opportunity to do before, to have a good shop, a good workstation. And it doesn't take that much money. I mean, it takes a little bit of money to set up a good shop, like all the construction stuff. But in terms of like setting up an air system, I'm going to run 3 or 4 hoses at probably 20 or 30 bucks a piece. I think this was like 30 bucks. I have a 6-foot hose running up to it to connect it, some couplers and stuff. For less than 200 bucks, this shop will be completely decked out with a beautiful air system and just the most convenient setup in the world. So it's level and plumb. The occasional use of any tool or workshop system may not warrant the amount of work I'm putting in here for something as small as an air system. Some people might be saying if I had a massive shop, it would be more justified, but it just isn't needed here. But in cases like mine, when you have to use something over and over, the moments it takes just to run a cord or to pull a plug out and plug something else in, they really add up over time, and I just wanted every convenience that I could afford, that I could feasibly afford for this new workshop. And as time goes on, this was just worth every penny and moment that I invested. As you might recall from last week's episode, the original floor in this workshop was asphalt, and it was on a grade as it was originally a driveway. After tearing up that asphalt, I had to do a lot of leveling, which was a lot of digging, approximately 2 feet elevation change over a 24-foot length. So quite a bit of material had to be removed. Since there was a pre-existing knee wall, and I dug down below that, I had to pour a second knee wall, a support wall, all the way around the perimeter of the workshop to hold back the ground.
Over there, look. Come on, hurry up. You're in there.
Get in there. There you go. See, she got her hands right on this side. Yeah. Yeah. A little bit more. Perfect. All done. Good job. Thanks.
Now the new surface of ground, after removing all that material, left a section with very little compaction, as you can see right here. I opted to remove that material to replace it with something that would have compaction. Now with all that loose rock removed, we took a trip to Robinson's General Store, one of the sponsors of the show, to purchase some Class A material. Class A is a crushed aggregate with really good compaction properties. It'll let us pack it in really nicely to create a stable shop base. After the Class A was evenly spread, a vibrating tamper worked exceptionally well to compact the surface. The Newfoundland Hobbyist is sponsored by EdgeProInc.com, ABS Busing in Middle Arm, By the Sea Inn and Cafe located in Kings Point, and Noble's Timber Mart with locations in Springdale and Bay Verte. And finally, the big day. Now this was a day that made me very nervous and is the only job in the whole project where I had professionals brought in. It was very important to me to have a beautiful workshop floor. I wanted a lovely concrete slab that was solid, gave no vibration, was excellent for moving around camera gear, and I just didn't feel that it was a project I could tackle on my own. So I brought in the pros, Hunt's Concrete from Central NL, and Dennis Egger's contracting services, and a phenomenal job was done. This was the first time I had ever seen professional concrete being laid like this, and it was fascinating to watch professionals do their work, to watch how the install goes, how the leveling happens, how the finished surface is created. It just really excited me.
Where do you want this to go? Stick the paper. That's pretty good goal. I've seen a lot worse than that. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think I've seen Jack like that doing that on home. Yeah. Hot day, I was like that.
Yeah.
I mean, hot. Don't get when you get much better oil with it. Don't seem like it, no. Next week it's won't start, it won't have wind, but they're going up in beans, and that only depends on where you get. Be careful now, Jordan behind you.
Couple minutes for me to run the berries in the extra one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Alright.
Hang on.
It was near painful waiting to get in on that concrete slab and start setting up my new shop. I was so excited to get in there, and I didn't waste any time once Dennis gave me the go-ahead. I decided right away that my new workshop needed extra worktop space. I didn't have any 2x4 screwed onto the walls anymore, screwed onto the studs to create workshop space, and I needed to correct that. And I wanted to do that with steel welding tables. I've put a lot of thought into work tables in the past few years, as it's where you spend most of your time as a craftsman or a hobbyist. A table or a bench or some type of work surface is really important and can make or break your workflow throughout the day. I personally really like freestanding tables, ones that can be moved around, nothing fixed to the wall, and tables that I can access all four sides of if I need to. Steel was the best way to do this for me.
And so this is my finished workshop, and I am so happy with it now. We're forward a couple months now. I've got a couple months of hobby work in the shop, working full-time at my knife work, leather work, and various other types of hobbies for my customers, and it is just so good in here. I've moved things around a lot. I'm sure things will continue to move, but I am enjoying this space so much. This floor came out like in-house cushion floor, like your tabletop. It's just so perfect. Although you can see over here, I started coating it earlier this year. I haven't got a chance to finish coating it yet, so that'll be coming in the upcoming months. This air system that I created here has just been phenomenal. And if you guys are building a shop, or if you have an existing shop and you don't have something like this, highly recommend it. I will do it everywhere I go after this. It's just so nice and easy to have those quick couplers in the four corners of the shop where I can click on a blow gun or click on a nail gun wherever I'm working. My steel tables here have been excellent. This one I have deemed my welding table, so it's the smaller of the two. I did one 3x2 and another 4 feet by 2 feet. The smaller one is my welding one. I just got a little Mastercraft make here, and it's really nice. I haven't got a chance or the finances to put a steel top on it yet, but that's my goal in the future, is to have a steel topped welding table. This is probably the biggest project I've done since the shop has been up and running, and that is to put in a grinding room. Being a knife maker, I tend to kick up a lot of dust, micarta and woods and stuff, a lot of grinding with this 2x72 grinder. And so having a room like this really helps keep the dust from spreading all over my shop. I also ran and piped a big dust collector system right through the wall, so that blows into a drum outside. I have a big collector hose here right under my belt. So it really does a good job. Between this room being here and having that dust collector system, I really don't get much dust around my shop, which is a beautiful thing. Of course, my timber framed workbench here that we built in the first season of New Zealand Hobbyist, it is still the centerpiece of my workstation in my area here. I have moved this around several times now, oriented it different ways, and this seems to work really nice right here where I have a lot of use. This is where I mentioned it's nice to be able to access all four sides. You really get to make more use out of your bench. Overall, building this workshop was a big learning process for me. It was a lot of work, but I couldn't be happier. A couple notes. One main thing that I would do if I was doing it all again is even more plugs. That's the only thing I've really changed to the design of the shop, is I've doubled up on almost every single plug. Every place I put a plug, I now have 2 plugs. I really want to thank you guys for following me along on this project. It really means a lot having you here, watching me grow and expand. I really appreciate it. I want to give a huge shout out to my sponsors who help make this show possible. If you're able to, please go and support them. I'd appreciate it, and I'm sure they would appreciate it. As always, thanks for watching. Make sure you tune in next week to the Newfoundland Hobbyists.